Hi, everybody. Today I have on the call Cherie with me. I have invited Cherie on the call because I actually follow her on Instagram, and I thought it's really interesting the photos that she puts up and her life as a chiropractor. She's an animal chiropractor working in Holland in a small town about, well, a reasonable sized town, no, about an hour south of Amsterdam.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to let's start the story. Let's heading back a bit. You're from South Africa. You studied at in Johannesburg.
Johannesburg, yeah, at the University of Johannesburg.
Right, and you made your way to Holland. How was that journey?
Well, the reason that my husband Justin's also a chiropractor, the reason we ended up in the Netherlands was mainly because I wanted to study animal chiropractic, and there is no opportunity yet in South Africa to study animal chiropractic as it's a postgrad study. So the big idea was to come here. I would finish my studies in Germany and we'd stay for a year and then we'd move back. But now we've almost been here for 7 years.
Right. And where did this desire to be an animal chiropractor come from? Don't tell me it was adjusting lions or something in the...
No, but that is definitely on my to-do list.
Yeah.
Bucket list. I actually saw a video of Jay Cormerick, an amazing animal chiropractor in the US. He was adjusting some horses, and I saw a YouTube video of him probably in my second year of studying. And then I thought to myself, I want to do that. And that kind of started the dream, because unfortunately there was no exposure to that in South Africa. I didn't have anybody who I could hang out with. And so it was just a few YouTube videos and a dream pretty much.
And so you went to Germany, you did your studies, and then you opened up in the Netherlands. What is the chiropractic community like in the Netherlands? Animal
chiropractic. To be honest, it's actually a little bit confusing in the Netherlands because we have a lot of osteopaths and people are more familiar with osteopaths for animals. So they tend to, when they're looking for somebody to work on the skeletal system, they seem to think that osteopathy is the way to go. And that's purely just because they don't know about chiropractic. So we don't have a very tight-knit community. I'm hoping to change that in the future. Where it can be a little bit more of a collaborative thing instead of us all kind of just being spread out and not having a community of support.
And like within the animal chiropractic, do you have a speciality, or do you have a special, like a favorite animal that you like to adjust?
To be honest, well, I mainly adjust horses and dogs, and I've adjusted a few cats. They're so different. Horses are great in the sense that most of the time they're pretty stable and they're standing pretty still, except for some horses that decide that they want to dance around, and there's a lot of exercise getting on and off your bail. But they tend to be easier to handle in my experience. Of course, you get difficult horses. Dogs, especially if I'm adjusting puppies or young ones, they're busy. It's if you're a human chiropractor, it's like adjusting a toddler. You kind of just have to get an adjustment in when you can, in between chewing something and giving a treat, and there's a lot more distraction going on, whereas a horse is a little bit more like a teenager. Most of the time they're standing pretty still, unless you get a difficult teenager.
And tell me a little bit about your day-to-day. So like you go to work, you're adjusting humans as well, or you just...
So I have work at a human practice, One Chiropractic Studio in Utrecht, and I'm there a few days a week. And then I just recently started at a holistic veterinary practice in Amsterdam once a week, which is really exciting. I really wanted the opportunity to be in a holistic office where we have multiple disciplines to support the health of an animal, which is really, really great. So there's acupuncture and all types of cool stuff there. To be honest, for a while, I had my own space here in Den Bosch, but I did find that often if an animal, because there I was seeing small animals, obviously, and often if the animal thought that they were going to the vet, many of them, unfortunately, don't have the best experience at the vet because they're getting their nails clipped or something like that. So they'd end up coming in really stressed or extremely excited and trying to get their nervous system a little bit into parasympathetic was quite the challenge, especially because there had also been other animals in the room. So they'd be sniffing around And if an animal was in pain, like if I had a dog with maybe a hernia or something like that, they were in pain. So for them traveling in the car and then coming into an unknown space. So I moved away from that and I was only doing home visits.
Right.
So most of the animals that I see now are home visits only, except on a Saturday where I'm at the veterinary practice.
Okay, cool. And tell me, do animals tend to get similar complaints as humans? Like you said, like disc injuries, sciatica, nerve impingement. What sort of things do animals get? Like, what's a subluxation like in an animal?
Well, they present differently. Let's say I'm checking an animal that's maybe really scared or is a rescue. Often they have a roached back with their tail underneath them, and then they have digestive issues. Obviously, because the nerves in that area aren't able to function optimally because of the position of their spine. So that's actually something. Digestive issues is something that I see quite often in that kind of animal. And then injuries due to play or running around or jumping off the couch. And I think most of the animals that I see, it's that last drop in the bucket scenario where my dog has been jumping off the couch for years and then he just jumped off and then suddenly he was injured. So what I find is because animals aren't able to speak, we have a very big responsibility to know our animals and be able to watch their patterns and see when something is changing and preventatively help them. Because by the time that there is something going on or we see something, most of the time there's been a pattern for a while. So unfortunately, most of the time when a subluxation presents, it's with a big sign or a big symptom. They have like a cruciate ligament tear or disc injury or something like that. So prevention is really something that I try my best to teach. I have a passion for older animals. So I see lots of animals that can no longer be healed. And the goal is just to help their quality of life.
Oh, that's so sweet. I mean, there's nothing sweeter, no, than an old dog and you see him limping and then you adjust them and then they can walk again and they have that moment.
Also like just the stiffness, like older dogs are just so stiff as they lose their range of motion. So if you can just help them get up out of their bed a little bit easier or enjoy that morning walk without so much stiffness, and that's really what it's about. So that they can enjoy for their owner and with their family.
And Cherie, what do you think, like, where does animal chiropractic, where's it going? Do you see it's growing? Do you see how do you feel it is? What's been your experience during these years now in Europe with animal chiropractic?
I definitely think it's growing, but I think there's a big gap in education and trying to teach people the value just of chiropractic in general. That's difficult. But what I often see is animals coming to see me, and if the owner is under care, it's always easier because the owner already understands. And to be honest, we're also animals. We're all just animals. So our bodies all function the same, to be honest, if you're on 4 legs or 2. So if you can get that message across, I actually think it's a really great opportunity. Because if I have someone coming in for their animal, if they can understand the concept of a healthy functioning nervous system for their animal, they might be more likely to understand the benefits and the importance of that for their own body. So I think there's a lot of time needs to be spent on education. And we just need time. The longer animal chiropractic is around, the more people that speak about it. Over the years, it'll grow organically if we just keep sticking to our mission.
Hey, and during your time so far in your experience, has there been some animals that have changed your life? That you've had like that have given you that, thank God I'm doing this, I'm on the right path?
Oh yeah, I'm trying to think if I have to single a specific animal out. I think my favorite ones are the ones that are at a shelter, like doing shelter work. And when I was in South Africa, I was doing some stuff with a few students, and I think those animals have the biggest change just because they have so much in their system. So much trauma in their system that an atlas adjustment can literally change their mind from being depressed in a corner to wagging their tail and coming to you, kind of like you're opening up a shell. Do you know what I mean? Most of the other pets that I see are well looked after. And it's beautiful to see them too when they're able to run again and jump off things. But you know, those desperate animals that have kind of just given up.
Yeah.
It's beautiful to see what the nervous system can do if it just doesn't have that block.
Can I just ask you a question? When you said like adjusting an atlas on a dog, do you get an audible? How do they allow you to do any, like how does it work? Like, or do you find it activated? What do you found works?
Yeah, I mostly use my hands. I know that there are many animal chiropractors using an activator, but I was not taught for that, so I just use these guys. You don't get an audible, mostly just because of the orientation of the spine and it being horizontal, not vertical, so the load bearing is differently. You definitely can, as air release, that does happen sometimes, but it's not like in humans at all. And as far as the animal letting you, it's a little bit of a collaboration. Yeah. You know, in the beginning, it's just a little bit of earning their trust and the intention behind it. Animals definitely feel the signals that you're giving. And if you're slow and gentle and you give them a moment and understand that every animal is different, and maybe today an atlas adjustment is all that you can do, and be okay with that, and be okay with not fixing it all in one go, then the animals let you work with them, and there has to be respect. You know, if an animal's giving you a signal, if it's giving a signal that that's not okay today, there needs to be respect for that too. And sometimes figuring out that boundary can be difficult because every animal is different. But most of the animals actually really like being adjusted, to be honest. On the first visit, it's a little bit of, I'm not too sure what you're doing.
Who are you?
And and by the second one, it's like, okay, I don't quite know if I'm into this, but you can do it. It's a little bit like that.
But I mean, thank you for that. I mean, we have to take that little lesson to everybody, you know, like even to our human species, you know, that respect is really, really important. And sometimes because we can communicate, hey, we're going to do this adjustment, you know, but giving everybody their time to do that adjustment is really important. Thank you for that.
And sure. And just what you were just saying about trying to teach humans that that every process takes time. That is extremely difficult with owners and animals. That's why an owner really needs to understand that it's a process, because, you know, when you're asking a joint to move in a different way, or you're helping the nervous system function properly for the first time, maybe in years, there's things that can present themselves. And if you were just following symptoms, you'd be like, oh, you know, that is worse. But sometimes an adjustment is just like cleaning the window. You know, you can see the crash coming, but the crash is still coming. You just have better vision. And it's a little bit same with an adjustment. So some things take time. So people always ask me, how long will this take? And the truth is, I don't know.
It's a process.
Absolutely. It's a process. And trying to let that go is also a process for me, realizing that I'm not healing anything, and my intentions need to be right, and I have to give a great adjustment, and that's where my responsibility stops. And their body has to do the rest.
And then my last question for today, in your wisdom, now that you're seeing animals, you're seeing humans, what advice would you give to yourself 10 years ago, you know, about making this journey towards being an animal chiropractor?
I think the biggest advice is to keep pushing. Just like when in the beginning, when you're adjusting humans, you think to yourself, I don't know what I'm feeling. Okay, is this the right thing? To just trust your instinct, and also just know it gets better. It actually, you know, it's really beautiful, but you have to push through your own uncertainty, and you need to know that what you're doing is good for the animal. Removing subluxation is good for that animal, and trust yourself.
Yeah. And I mean, I am definitely not an animal chiropractor, but I love animals. And in the small times, I have done a seminar with Jay as well, and had the power and had the pleasure to meet him. And just adjusting my dog, you can see animals are extremely grateful for when you give them that adjustment. It's amazing. There must be a real reward for you on a daily basis.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, owners often say that when you're done, they're like, oh, they love you. But it's not as much me, I don't think, as the gratitude for for really realizing what their adjustment was doing for themselves, you know.
Yeah. I bet nothing beats a tag well, like, ding, 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 or
Nothing.
a horse like, ha, 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 thank you. Yeah.
Nothing beats it. No, absolutely. That's unmatched joy.
Yeah. Well, keep spreading your loves. Keep adjusting those animals, please, because I think we need more happy animals in this world.
Absolutely.
And thank you for your time today.
Thank you so much. And thank you for having me. And you keep doing what you're doing, and spreading the love and all the other great chiropractors out there.
Cool. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.